Thank you, Mr Mundell. And you won't be surprised to hear that it's a pleasure to serve under you today. And I do thank the member for Colin Valley for the way in which he introduced this debate and for the excellent speeches we've heard from our colleagues here today following that. So I recently met with a constituent who lives in Chester in Edinburgh South West, and she has adenomyosis. During our meeting, she told me of the debilitating impact of the condition on her personal and work life, and it was a real insight for me, Chair. On some days, her pain is so severe that she struggles to walk or move around her home, even to reach the toilet. She reminded me of just how common both endometriosis and adenomyosis are, based on the fact that around 10% of menstruators suffer from either disease. In Edinburgh South West, there could be thousands of people who currently suffer regular and excruciating pain that these conditions cause. While my constituent now has an employer who understands and accommodates her health needs and allows working from home or leave for her condition, this has not always been the case. She recounted the degrading experience of having to explain her health issues in detail to inform her employer, just for taking time off. Despite this, she was still given a written warning. It is this inconsistency between employers that motivated her to sign a petition and meet me to ask very politely that I came along and attended this debate on her behalf. As we've heard, up to 1 in 6 of those with endometriosis have to leave the workplace due to their condition. Whilst for some this will be due to real inability to work due to pain, for others who can and want to work, this may sadly come down to a lack of accommodating workplaces. And we have to be honest about this, Chair. This is discrimination. So I recognise the government's position that provisions of the Equality Act should ensure the flexibility needed for leave or for adjustments for these women. However, laws are only useful if they are respected and enforced. Nonetheless, I hope that the reforms introduced in the Employment Rights Act, including statutory sick pay, will go further to ensure accommodations can be made. However, I hope that today the Minister will give some guarantee that the Government will look to menstrual leave schemes abroad to inform the evidence-based best practice in the UK that we need. I also hope the Government will do what it can to support businesses or organisations that decide to introduce these practices in interim, simply because it is the right thing to do. And I have to be honest, I hadn't heard of the endometriosis friendly employer scheme, so it would be interesting to hear what the Government is doing to support that scheme as well. The data we have had from the schemes that have been implemented abroad show that they are unlikely to be abused. Whilst the petition we are discussing today relates to Portugal, the introduction of a similar menstrual leave policy in Spain shows there have been no avalanche of sick days taken as a result. And while I know there have been some concerns about how easy it is to access that scheme, the Spanish allowance has only been used just 1,550 times, so hardly a significant impact on the economy, but a huge benefit to the women who are able to access it. Equally, the schemes can help employees avoid having to repeatedly justify in detail absences that they require. With the Portuguese system of only requiring one initial confirmation of diagnosis, employees will likely be spared the uncomfortable and degrading conversations with superiors and work colleagues around this in discussing this medical condition. So I hope the Government will look to the positive impact of these schemes abroad and build that best practice for the UK. But I do want to make one last point. When I spoke about this debate on my Facebook page, many women who responded to it said that they were more keen that GPs were better informed about the condition, and also that diagnosis happened much quicker. And I couldn't believe that it took just over 9 months for a diagnosis to take place. It seems 9 years. Apologies. It took just over 9 years for a diagnosis to take place. But given that the pain that we've heard about, but we've heard in this debate today about the real human impact of what that delay causes, and that must be impacting on our economy. So I hope the Government will also commit to studying what the impact is on the economy of these conditions, and perhaps that will justify action in this domain. Thank you, Chair.